I'm JD. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe. Please hit like. And oh man, do I have to shave. Look at all that crap underneath my chin. Anyway, I got to get rid of the fuzziness. But here we've got the Elgin National Watch Company 1890. It is a convertible watch. So what does that mean? I did a video on that earlier. It means you can turn this watch from a pennant at 12 o'clock position to pennant at 3 o'clock position. So it can be used for normal open cases, or it can be used for the cases with the lids, which are sometimes called hunter cases. So I took the top off of this before and had a look inside at the gearing, but I'm going to strip this down a bit because I want to see what the situation is, because the watch will not set. It is a lever set watch, which means you pull the lever out. The lever on this watch is right here. I pull the lever out and nothing happens. So pull that lever out like that, and when I turn this, nothing happens. So I want to figure out that problem. So I've got to take the hands off the watch, and I've got to strip it down just a bit. So we'll do that. We'll get on with that. Taking the hands off, you move the hands to 12 o'clock. In this watch here, because the hands wouldn't set, there's a wheel on the top of this watch that you can use to actually move the hands. So, and I don't know how this wheel actually interacts with the stem on the watch. And if anyone knows that, they can tell me, or I can do a little more research. But first thing I'm going to do is remove the hands from this watch carefully. I use pretty wide hand removers, and I usually take the edge of them and not the middle, because they're pretty big, right? So it's probably a bit of an overkill. But there we go. So that's a safe way of doing it. A little piece of plastic on the top for hand removing. And I just take those and put them on my mat for now. Put everything way far out of the way. Is that good English? Put everything far out of the way, because you will stick it to your elbow and be pissed off if you don't do that. So that's what you do. I made a couple of videos in the last couple of days on lathe work. So I did. I assembled a lathe with a counter shaft. Somebody told me it's not called a counter shaft. It's called something else, and I can't remember what they called it. But it was not a counter shaft. It was a littoral shaft or something like that. I don't remember the name. I'll have to look it up again. But because they said counter shaft runs the other way, counter to how it's spinning. So I'm like, all right, that makes sense. But that's pretty anal retentive, I'd say. But the gentleman who said that is probably pretty smart and knows his stuff. So I got to turn some lights on here because I can't see a damn thing. And I may need to actually get a bit closer. So I'm going to get rid of my center video and get some work done on this. So I'm pretty sure that this watch, let me just move this out a bit so I can get some room to look. I'm pretty sure this watch had a very nice case at one time. These watches in particular supposedly had gold cases, very high-end cases. And the watch could be set, as I said before, from either the crown at the 12 o'clock position or the crown at the 3 o'clock position. Here I'm just loosening up the screws that hold the dial feet in. And these screws are conforming to the actual case here. So they're on the edge of the case. And just get in there and remove those screws, and I should be able to edge the dial upward. And then I usually tighten the screws back in so I don't lose them. So if I can just get a screwdriver in here, and you can get a pretty big screwdriver. That way when you twist your screwdriver where the dial feet are, the dial feet actually come out of the hole they're in, and these screws grab the dial feet. That's how it works. And you got to just kind of edge it out all over. If you do it from one side only, you can crack the enamel on the watch. So you don't want to do that. Just change screwdrivers here because it's a little bit trickier right there. So I just want to get that peen. Is that right, to peen that in? Now when you do one dial foot, sometimes the other one sinks in. So the dials in mint condition. The dial feet look really good. Now, I made a video on how to solder dial feet a while back. Let me know if you want me to make another video of some sort like that in the future. So here is the setting mechanism, and that doesn't seem to do anything. Look at that. That's amazing. I see nothing here that would indicate that this actually does anything. Well, I can see something underneath there like that, and that would be for setting the watch. And the spring, there's a spring in here on the inside, and that spring there seems to coil in, but it should actually spring that back. So it's not doing anything on this side, but it might be doing something on the other side, but I'm not going to be able to see that until I strip the other side down just a bit. So let me just get rid of the center wheel here, and I may have a lot of oil. No, I don't have any oil on this. That's good. So it seems to be pretty bare bones from the top perspective, eh? The way they designed this. It's interesting. So most of the stuff might be in the other side. And like I've always done, take some pictures as you disassemble this thing so you know how things go back together. So I just take a couple shots here. That way, when I'm very curious, I can go, well, I don't know how it went together. Now, I'm not going to take the cannon pinion out yet, although it looks like it's riding a bit high. I'm not sure if that's true or not. And if it's riding high, that means the hour wheel is not working properly. And I can't see the gear that would be touching the hour wheel. So this, or the minute wheel rather. So the minute wheel goes in here like this, and there's a slight opening right there on the edge where I would suspect another gear fits in there to turn this, and then that would turn the this wheel here. And when I look at that, the cannon pinion is pretty high. It looks like it might not even react properly with the hour wheel. And I know when I turn this, nothing happens. I'm going to get myself a little vice clamp here so I can clamp onto the stem and see if I can get a reaction from this thing when I turn it. I'm not sure if that's not big enough. It's a big stem, folks. I'm going to get one of my big ones. Ouch, just poked myself with a needle. So I got this one has a needle in it, this one doesn't, but I still don't think it's big enough. No, not big enough. I got a bunch of these. You never have too many tools, eh? So let me dump the needle out of this because I'm always using a needle. I'll throw that back in the haystack. That's where needles belong. In case you're looking for a needle in a haystack, that is one. That's pretty sad humor. I grab onto that, and when I turn this, nothing is moving on the top. I flip this around, the gear just sort of fell out again, but I'm not too concerned. So this is moving, which is nice. Now theoretically, if I were to pull this out, would it move another gear towards the winding mechanism? Something is happening there. Oh, I see what's happening. So what's happening is that when I pull this out, this gear here moves the center wheel. The problem I have is the center wheel is not all the way down. So that would probably be the issue and why it's not winding properly or setting the time properly. Now, if I just push down on this, I don't want to compromise this. There's a bit of a gap there between the center wheel and the plate. Just push down on that just a bit. I'm not sure what this plate here is. So that actually interacts now. And not much, it's very close to not interacting. So now when I turn this, it does turn like that. and it turns, yeah, then it undoes itself. See, now it's not turning. So I think that needs to be staked on more. Yeah, maybe that needs to be supported and then staked on a bit more. That's what that wheel is for. Now if I pull this back, is it able to... Yeah, I'm wondering if when I pull it forward, does this go down? That's the question I have. See, it's still turning the wheel, right? Both ways. It may disengage that wheel from the mainspring to allow you to turn it in both directions. But again, I'm curious as to whether whether this can be staked down further to allow the barrel wheel, there it is there, interacting now. It's just not close enough. What a crazy design. I think the engineers were on drugs. That's my thought here. Yeah, so let's just take some of this stuff apart and then allow me to ascertain the specific workings of this beast. But I need to get my number 58 Myers movement holder for this. The Myers number 58 movement holder is a great gift for any watchmaker at Christmas time. It's the number one movement holder in watchmaking. Get yours today. So that was my ad. So they'll be all bought up now. These things are selling for like $300 now. It's amazing that they're getting so expensive. They're very good watch movement holder. They got all the attachments for different size watches, but the benefit of this watch movement holder, as you can see here, is that little angle there that you have on all sides here, that grabs onto the edge of the movement, so you can turn that around. It does not fall out. It's a brilliant design. I like it anyway. So, and when I put this watch into the movement holder, I've got to angle it so the stem is on the outside, and put that down into the movement holder. I got to open this up just a bit, and I still need to put my glasses on for some reason. I didn't put them on, and now I can't see a damn thing. So there. So I slide that in like that, and then I can crunch this down onto the movement like that. I think I screwed that up, but anyway. Get glasses on here so I can see what the hell I'm doing. Oh my God. Oh me, oh my. Oh me, oh my. Alright, so the edge of that movement holder wasn't in position. So let me just make sure that the die that goes in place here is in place. Put the watch in, and then you can slide this forward. This is one of many methods of putting it in, but there you go. So now it's forward and holding the watch. And now when you turn the jobby doohickey here, and watch that you're not squishing anything on the edges here. When you turn the jobby doohickey, it'll squeeze the movement in a bit, but this thing is sprung, as you can see. There's a spring to it. So the spring ensures that you don't overturn it. So there we go there. So that's the movement. So this thing here interacts with this thing here. I'm just curious when I pull that, there it is on the edge. When I pull the lever for the lever set mechanism, is this going to do what I think it's going to do? So let's take the lid off this thing and check it out. I know that the mainspring barrel, I think, is broken because it wasn't winding. So I can remove these screws. I always take a screw, loosen it, and remove it. These K-screws could probably be lifted out now because they're just going to get in the way. So I just take the screw, and I need to get in a little closer with my eyepiece here. There we go. And I had put these in before but didn't tighten them, knowing that I've got to take them out again anyway. And put those out of the way, and I can lift this up now. I should be able to lift this up. Again, if you is the word peen, to peen this out or whatever, that's not right, is it? It's a different word. Pry it would work. prise it is another word that people I've heard using, to prise the thing out of position. So there we go. So I take that out, take a photo, because I just one of those guys. Take a photo, and then you'll remember how to put it back together if you screw up. And all us watchmakers have our moments. So there's a photo, and I know this little bar comes out if I unscrew this. The whole darn thing comes out. But this is a left-right kind of thing, and I can see on this side a big barrel. And when I lifted that up, and I'm not sure if I can see on the other side the same big barrel. If I use 2 pairs of tweezers, I can lift this right up from the top. Let me get a little closer here. And like that. There we go. So now I can see that, like I said, if I lift this up, this is how you convert it from a 12 to 3 o'clock winding position. Lift that up, and yeah, I can see the big barrel here. And you can see this gear here that would interact. And if you'll turn this around, you can see this is cammed, right? So that's how that works. And you'd switch it to this position here, and then you grab the stem and pull that out. But I'm going to take a few more things out first, right? So let me unscrew. What else can I take out here? I think there's alignment posts here. Let me look in the bottom of this, because I think there's alignment posts on the bottom. Let me see. Yeah, there's an alignment post here, and there's another one on the other side, and these alignment posts align with these here, and then the screws go here. So I'm thinking, now that there doesn't seem to be any screws in here, that this can come straight up. There's also a number here, N45 287. So that is some kind of a component number that's inside of this particular mechanism. But let's just remember that this was on the right hand side and remove that. And then I'm going to have to remove this here so that if I lift the plate up, there's no issue, right? And I got to get the right size screwdriver. Always have the right size screwdriver. And don't forget to dress your screwdrivers. Put some pants on them or something like that, right? So, of course, that's not what that means. Dressing your screwdrivers, making sure the blades will fit into the screws properly, into the right caliber, the right size of blades. Just put this out of the way again, like I said before, and everything goes out of the way. So this thing here comes up and then out, and it looks like it might be broken. There's only half of one of these, and the ones I saw before had a full U on them. So this might be broken. I might be able to make one. Not quite sure, but I'll look inside here to see if that is in there. So this will go straight up. If this were a little higher, then I'd be able to interface with this mechanism a bit better. And I'm not sure when I pull the hand, the setting mechanism is this supposed to make this go up? I think that's what would make sense, because why would they have the spring mechanism if the spring weren't to just keep that down until you pull that hand up, and then it rises it up a bit? So I'm going to see if I can somehow remove this thing. Not sure exactly how, but I want to see if I can remove this. But I may look underneath it, because that would move that center wheel, which would set the time on the watch. So I'm just going to pull this out for a second and move this out of the way. And I want to see if I pull the setting mechanism and look down through the hole. The setting mechanism is right here, and I pull that forward like that. What's it doing to this here? Because it might try to pull that up. No, it's not pulling anything up, which is odd. and there's no other device in here, so that's kind of not on. So let me just put this back for a second. Where's the stem? Stem actually fall out on me, or what? Oh, there it is. I'm going blind. Just talking my way through this with you. So there's a setting mechanism and the stem, so I could make those visible of the opening, then I can use both of them to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to get a puller to see if I can pull the top of that off, right? I could use my very fancy hand puller, but I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to get a puller of some sort. I'm going to see if I can use this puller. And the way you use these is you squeeze the end, and then when you do this, it pulls up, and these brace on the side. But I just need to grab it enough to pull it up. And I think that's all I need to do in this. I'm not absolutely sure, but I think I got a chance in hell of doing it, right? So let me just grab this and see what happens. I do see something else in here that I'm a little worried about, is this here fell out. So I don't know what this is. It looks like it belongs somewhere in this whole mechanism, but what is this thing? So I'm going to, hey, Sonny, what the hell is this? I need an answer. I need an answer. And I did say I was going to put those dowel screws back in. I didn't do it. So, bad boy, Jerry. A bad boy. Probably some of them are on the ground by now. Anyway, let me see if this puller will pull this straight up. And this thing is stuck. Here we go. And drop it in the middle of nowhere. So there it is there. That's the wheel. And you can see some gearings down here in this wheel, right? So there's some teeth here on the inside that are interacting with these teeth here. There are some teeth here on the outside which are basically used to drive the watch and turn this wheel on the top. And then there's a click spring right there and another spring here. So this pipe here, this thing here, I think goes right there. So, and probably point forward. This looks like it fits right in there. Let me just get that in there. I think that, I know that is for relieving tension on the mainspring. So hopefully you can see that. Should I move this forward more? I think I need to move everything forward more. Sorry about that. So yeah, so there's the bar there, that was the mystery bar. I think that's for this. I think when you pull that forward, or you push that forward, it releases the ratchet here. So it's got to be for that, because there's a little groove there, and that's where it would go. But the thing is, how the hell would that be held in place? So if it's not for this position, it's got to be for this position. But again, how would that be held in place? Doesn't seem like there's a viable method of holding this little piece of rod in here like that. Yeah, it just doesn't want to stay like that. It would have to, there's the other side of this here. And so that would go on like that, and that would stick out like that. I think that might be what that's for. Not 100% sure, but guess what? Going to take another picture. This thing is getting more and more complex as I get down into its belly. So let's just get this out of the way. The rod of goodness. And I also have a screw here that I don't know where it comes from, but I think it is the screw for that spring, which it is. So the theory I had was that when you pull the setting mechanism out, the lever set on the bottom here, something happens on the top. And I don't even know if that's real. So let's just see if there's anything, I see anything in here. No, it doesn't seem to be anything happening. And this is pretty set in here, so I can't see anything happening there. That's a spring for this, so So I'd have to take this out, and then this would just fall out, because that's the click spring here, the click. That's the click. That's the spring for the click. And then I might be able to remove this whole plate. I could perhaps remove the whole plate now without taking that out. Let's see if I can do that. That'd be cool. Just get in here with my screwdriver and start prying it a bit. Just trying to see how big the gap is. Yeah, it's fairly big. So this thing was sitting up high. Yeah, this was sitting up high and almost in the setting position. So again, does that lever do anything? Again, I'm not sure if that lever does anything, but if I pull the lever out all the way, like that, this isn't getting in, this isn't going down. And I don't know why. The barrel might be stuck or something. It's odd. Because that would normally go down a bit. If I stick a screwdriver and kind of rock it, maybe when I rock it, the other side goes down. Yeah, there we go. Now the other side is... Nah, they're both up. Let me just get this out of position here. I'll worry about putting that back later. Whoa! What the hell was that? So there was tension there, and I'm not sure if that tension was on the mainspring or not, because it didn't look like that mainspring would wind from what I saw there. So there's the mainspring. There's the mechanisms from that side. Doesn't look like there's anything there at all, other than just pushing this down into position and a couple of tabs here to align with the holes here. Let me put that out of the way here. Let me grab the mainspring and see if this mainspring is actually operational, because that would be pretty cool. And maybe this thing was just assembled poorly. And I should be able to see underneath what this jobby doohickey is doing with the lever. So if I look at pulling the lever again, does it do anything? The thingamajobby doohickey. There we go. So I can see the lever on the bottom moving like that. But it's not interacting with anything. This is really interesting. And whether I have the gear, let's move over a bit here. You see that lever moving there? Let me just do that. Over where the mainspring would be. Right there. And it doesn't seem to do anything, because I'd want that either to lift up the whole thing, or this is not doing anything if it's in setting versus, like this is, if I pull that up here, there's nothing in there. So there's nothing in here that would change its interaction, right? There's the barrel. The barrel doesn't seem to have anything on the bottom of it that would change its interaction, right, with the rest of the setting mechanism. So when I put that barrel in, there's nothing there that actually moves anything, right? So that's kind of a waste. There seems to be a mark or something. Oh, that's just gum here. So you'd think that when you pull the lever out, something happens to raise that gear up. So this gear that sits on top of here, right? There's a gear that sits right on top of here, like this. And there's an inward gear here, like this. And this gear would move and cause the whole gear here to move, right? So when it's in that position, so if this is pushed, then this click spring is no longer interacting, right? So if this is pushed like that, it's not interacting, which means you can turn this gear this way, which means maybe that's how you set the watch. You push this in, this gear turns this way, and perhaps that gear is always interfacing with the with that center wheel. So let me put this back for a second, because this is in position here now, and if I put this in place, it has to, I have to kind of move this around so that the gear is kind of lined up a bit, I think, like that, right? And then this would fall into place, hopefully. Hope you're watching this craziness. Yeah, let me think here. I gotta think again here. This is hurting my head. Well, first of all, it's upside down, so I'm being a total idiot. So it would go in like this. That was a dumb move, by the way. Thought I'd mention that. And then you would use, I'll just get a small screwdriver here. I want to move this over a bit so we're centered nicely. So yeah, so this, I just move this whichever way it moves the best. If I take the click spring out of the way, then I can move it any way I want, right? But I need 4 hands to do all this. So if I do this, lift this up just a bit, I can turn this in any direction. Or line that up with the barrel. And now when I push this down like that, I'm just trying to see how this whole thing interacts. There we go. So that's down there like that. This gear actually lines up. You can take the gear out once you get the watch plate back in, I guess. So that's not too bad there. That's kind of almost in place. Oh, I got a package coming. So again, it looks like this gear, if I push this in, then it'll turn this on with the inside gear, this sort of stepped gear here on the inside, will turn, and it'll turn this gear here, right, which will ultimately, if this is lined up properly with this gear here, will set the time. And I think you can only do it in one direction. So if I put this back in, I think you've got to, this gear sits on top, I think. Let me think how this works. No, it's like this. This gear goes on like this. Get in close again here, because you can't always get what you want. Oh, that's not right. That's a song. So this gear sits like this on the top, like that, and then this plate goes on like this, but I'm trying to make sure that this pin, I'm not sure if that pin was there already or whether that was part of it or what, but I'll throw it in for the halibut. Of course, it just doesn't do a good job of wanting to be in place here. And that's for setting the watch. So now if I put this down like this, and there's tabs to align all that stuff. I got to use my fingers today. This is my watch, by the way, just to let you know. There we go. So that's in place now, like that. And this pin is in place. And now I'm just going to put these screws in again, and just to hold everything in place. Now the watch went bajinga when I took the top off, but I thought I thought all the pressure was off the mainspring, so the mainspring may be operational. It just was all kind of screwed up here. So I'm going to do this. Hope you're enjoying this little investigative. There, so that's down, and I'm looking at the plates here, so that's needs to be screwed down a bit more. A little bit more. I think everything is kind of feels like this needs to be down more, but I'm not going to press the situation here. So the gears are, when I push this down, this gear then is not lined up with this gear here. But it does seem like this gear is floating a bit high, right? And it goes right through the center wheel. And I really think that that lever should be doing something to raise up the gear or something. I just don't know how the hell it works. So I'm just going to relieve this just a bit here, turn it just a bit, and then tighten this just a bit. Because some of this does not make sense. And I want to grab this with the this vise here and just do a bit of turning to see what happens here. So this is not turning anything. And if I pull the lever out, nothing happens. There's nothing underneath that moves anything for this lever. That's what's strange. I think I need Sonny Morehouse to give me some advice, because Sonny works on these all the time, and I don't. And I got just a little bit of a crack here, which is like, why? And you don't want to put too much pressure on the watch to break anything, so I build that up, move that up a bit. And what makes sense in this whole rigmarole is that this piece here that connects to the watch, this is broken for sure. It goes inside here, and it would make sense is when you push that lever up, this goes up, right? This goes up and then interacts with this wheel here. That's what makes sense. But I can't see, and this is a spring, and I can make a spring like this, no problem. A little tricky, but still a lot of filing. But this would go up, but there's nothing in this mechanism that pushes that up. So now if I push this here in, right, and I think it's squeezing it wrongly, that's why it's not working right now. And I don't know whether that pin was there before. Well, I'm actually missing a component here. I'm being a total idiot. I'm missing the wheel that would be in the center there. So I forgot to put the wheel back. So let's see, called inexperience with these watches, these types of watches. So let me just raise this up a bit again. Yep, the fun is continuing. The fun is continuing, is yet to be experienced. Just keep getting bigger screwdrivers to get this thing out. There we go. So yeah, the wheel I forgot to put in was this wheel here. So this wheel needs to go in or nothing happens. Right, and that wheel interacts with this wheel here, so then you get some action on that. When you turn this, it turns this, which turns, but I still don't know how this lifts up. Again, it makes no friggin' sense at all, right? If I pull that out again, have a look, pull this up, this should go up like that. And when I pull there's nothing to raise that up. There's nothing that makes this go up when I pull the setting mechanism, this lever here. 0.0 happens. So what the hell is that all about? And if I'm not sure if like this obviously is the exact right size to fit in here, right? Which makes sense. And I know that when you push this in, it relieves this gear to allow this to spin. It's just, how does that gear ride up to interact with this? Because it makes no sense for it not to interact, right? So I got the gear in there now. So let me throw this one back into place. I'm going to end this video soon because I want advice. I think Mark could probably tell me, or Sonny absolutely would know what's going on here. Yeah, so this has to interact with this wheel right here. There's no getting away with it. So when you turn that, it would turn this, right? So either this has to be lower, and this setting mechanism, lever set, does 0. It does absolutely nothing. The word is actually starts with a D and ends with an ick. And it does that. D-ick. There. So that's in place. That's all flat. Let me get those screws back in before I screw it all up. And maybe I look at some other movements like this to see if there's a look that's different. Like if that gear is higher or what. And figure this thing out. This needs to be figured out. I think before it wasn't even winding properly. Getting a bigger screw here to put this in better. That's good enough. That is good enough, my friends. So now when I grab this with a vise, doesn't look like it's winding anything, but now if I put that pin in the hole right here, that pin does not seem to fit in that hole when this is together. So that pin can't be part of that hole. There's a perfect hole in there, which you'd think that pin would be part of, but it isn't. So that's not what that pin is for. Someone needs to tell me that. What is that pin for? And if I take this needle, can I get this needle all the way in? No, I need a smaller needle, so I get I think I got a smaller needle here too in a vise. Always have lots of needles in vices, by the way. So that's a smaller needle in a vise, and that should go in. There we go. If I press on this, I should be opening up or turning that gear the other way. Yeah, so in this case here, the gear can't move this way. It's not moving that way. And if I pull that out, it does move that way. And it seems to wind the spring this way. I can hear some ticking going on, which means the click spring that you saw earlier is clicking, right? Like that. And it's probably turning the mainspring arbor, but not winding it. And I push that in a bit. Push this in a bit. Come on, don't fail me now. There we go. Oh, it's got a bit of the spring on it, which is good. There. So now it's blocking that from turning the other way. It will not turn the other way. It'll only turn one way. And that's when you would have it in the winding position. See, now it's clicking, but not turning the other way. You can hear that clicking away, right? Yeah, it's none of this makes any sense. So I need some help, please. So I'm going to beg for Sonny Morehouse to give me a hand here to tell me what the hell is going on and how does that work. Because this gear is not rising up, and it should. Now, the other thing is maybe this spring here, one more thing and then I'll shut the video off, okay? Maybe this spring naturally keeps this barrel up. So it raises the barrel up naturally. So it's always in the up position because of the spring, like that. And then when you want to, yeah, that would naturally put it in the up position, and then it would go down when you wind, right, somehow. So it would be in the up position naturally. So let me just put this back here for a second. I'm going to just try something here. I'm going to have a look at the spring and see if it's bent. And the short answer is yes. It's bent ever so slightly downward. So if I were to take this and bend the spring upward, would it rise this up a bit? So let's try that. All right, I think I'm going to make a new one of these anyway, because it's missing half of its side. I'm pretty positive it's snapped off. Yeah, and I can see where the snapping has been done. So if I take this spring here and just try to bend it upward a bit. Yeah. The other thing I could do, I'm always thinking here, maybe this is on backwards, and I just flip it around. Let me try that out. So I'd unscrew this here and just flip this thing around. I'm not sure how tight the screw is in. Wow, that screws in super tight. This may be a little tougher than I thought, because that's not moving at all. Yeah, I'm just likely to break the screw here. I thought perhaps tightening that screw would do the job. I'm going to have to make a new part, I know. Because if this is in the naturally upward position, right, I could heat it up and kind of move that up, I think, but it might lose its springiness. But if it's in a naturally upward position, then it would be pushing this wheel upward, right? Which means the wheel in the upward position like this would be interacting with this wheel here. I just don't know how the damn thing goes down. Like, what causes this wheel then to go down when you need it to go down? Because I think that's how it works. I think it needs to be in a naturally upward position until it needs to go down, right? But that means I've got to somehow get that screw out. And so again, I'm asking for Sonny Morehouse to tell me if that's how it works. Is it naturally up? Somehow there's a hole here that needle goes in, or something goes in. There's this thing here, which I don't know where that fits, right? That's in here, and I need to figure that out. So I need some serious help here. There's a hole right there. What the hell is that for? So that little part fit right in this hole. And when I pull this, does something happen? The shorter answer is no. Oh, wait a second. Wait 1 second. My crazy mind just may have thought of what happens here. So I think when this is in position here, right, like that, and it is an upward position, so if I put this in the slot here, then that little peg, when that bottom lever moves this upward. Is that right? And then this thing moves. So let me put that back in. Make sure I don't lose the screws. This is a terrible investigative stuff here to figure out how this mechanism works. It can be a long video where you're going to go, listen, just look it up and stop trying to figure this shit out on your own. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that peg that fell out is now underneath this spring, right? Let me just push that in a bit when I tighten it. Like that. And that spring then, when I pull the lever, somehow, I've got to get it into place maybe, but that spring somehow moves this upward. And then this thing here pulls this wheel up, which interfaces with this. That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. So maybe I got it in backwards. Let me take it out for a second and see if it falls into place here. Oh, it's pushing it up now. Did you see that? Let me put this back again. Wow, what a funky mechanism this is. That is how it works. That little jobby doohickey pushes that lever up, and it's moving that mechanism upward. That is crazy. That is just crazy. So now if I take this and grab the stem here, and this would be winding it, but if I pull this out, I think this is bent over here, because if I pull that up and it's not bent, is it moving that upward? That's the question. Am I going to turn that around? I think when you do this and you're not on camera, you're able to fart around more and not screw it up as much. No, see that little peg there? So I pull that. The peg is not going up, but I bet you it wants to go up. If I turn that around the other way, let me see if I can grab that. This is going to be a two-tweezer job. Wow, what a morning. Oh, you bum. There. Now, that's cammed on the bottom, which would say to me that it wants to lift it up when it's turned. But I'll flip it the other way and see what happens. I'll bet you maybe it's this way, but I doubt it. It's funny, when I snap it, the thing pops up. That's got to be the other way. So let me just dump this here. I think I figured it out, but it doesn't seem to want to cam it nicely though. Maybe you got to pull that up when you put it in or something. There, you can see it going up there. You see that right there? Let's have a look at that right there. That is absolutely going up, which means it's pulling this whole mechanism upward, right? So this is going in like this, like this. I'll try this again here. And it's pulling that whole mechanism up, but what's weird is that it's pulling it up from its base, which is pretty solid. So I'm just going to use my other screwdriver here to keep that in place while I screw this screw in here. And this thing here, the little end here, I know it should have two pieces. It should be a fork. So if that's screwed in nice and tight, then when I pull this up, yeah, it's rising that up. So there we go. So that's the mystery done. Now let me get the needle here, or the vise, and see if it's setting the time. So there we go. It's not doing anything right now. But if I pull that up a bit further, like that, now it's turning that middle wheel to set the time. But obviously you shouldn't have to have it pulled up like that all the time, right? So I think that this arm needs to be bent a bit, because I think when it naturally falls down until you pull that all the way up, and then what happens, so it allows you to set the time there, and then when you push this in, that little spike goes down, and then this would wind the watch, right? So now I just have to check out that mainspring. So I think I figured this out. Thanks for being with me on this. I just need to take out the mainspring, and I think that'll be it. So that's how that mechanism actually works on this particular watch movement. So Sonny, I don't think I need your help, but thanks anyway, because I know you're going to write me on this one. Have a good day, and we'll strip this thing down and get it working.